Well, we've raised the Stanley Cup, and now it is time for the other thing that follows the Stanley Cup, which is learning exactly what horrible, terrible injuries everyone has. We're going to talk all about that today and why that's maybe not a good thing on today's episode of Locked On NHL.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. You're listening to Locked On NHL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, as we talk about the Western Conference. My name is Sarah, one half of Western Conference Wednesday here. I'm joined as always by Jess, my partner in crime, for our Wednesday extravaganzas as we take a look at what's going on the left side of the map. And congratulations to us, because the left side of the map won the thing. Good job, left side of the map.
Yes, thank you so much, left side of the map. You brought it home.
Yeah, I know they did it for us.
They did.
The Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup for us, to make us proud, to make me not be a liar after the past 3 years of saying they were going to win. This year I'm finally correct. Pay no attention to how bad all of my other picks were. We won't go back and revisit that because it's embarrassing. But in my defense, no one thought that some of those teams that were bad were going to be bad. It just happened.
It happened, and then I feel like whatever the Stanley Cup matchup is next year, it's not going to compare, and people are going to be really upset.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
Right.
Because the Lightning did not win this year, and, I think Colorado deserves it.
Yeah.
Big time. I was so happy just to watch their celebration, and
yes,
this is for us. Me, a lifelong Colorado Avalanche enjoyer.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like every time I watch, the Stanley Cup get awarded and everything, I'm always like, oh, it's not my team. I have no feelings whatsoever about this. And then by the time, they hand it to the first old guy without a cup, I'm like, oh my God, this is so emotional.
Right?
Every year. I could hate the team and I still would be like, look at Mark Stone raising the cup.
My favorite part was how long it took to get to Cale Makar.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's literally the best player, obviously the playoff MVP, and just literally just a bunch of old men, and then this small child.
Yeah. And I feel like that's always interesting seeing the order they go in. And yeah, Cale Makar, Bowen Byram was one of the last guys to get it. And these are guys who played huge important roles on this team. And nope, you're still 22. You have to wait. Who knows when you'll be here again, but you have to wait. Yeah, I feel like there were a lot, there's a lot of guys on the team who I forgot were on that team. Cogliano, I totally forgot he ended up there. Just so many guys that just waited so long in their careers, and Jack Johnson, who I know everyone has made fun of Jack Johnson. I've made I get
I'm
it.
So guilty of it.
Yeah, but I was as much as I've made fun of him for not being necessarily a good defenseman anymore, on a personal level, I'm this has to feel so cathartic for this guy who joined that team on a PTO. Everyone was like, why are
they putting the money into this? I thought they wanted to win the cup. Well, right. Guess what?
Yeah, guess what? They did. And all that he's gone through personally, to see him reach this pinnacle of his career, this is probably it for him. Eric Johnson, I know, was saying that he thought last season he was probably gonna have to retire because of his injuries. And managed to rehab and come back. And there was some quote about how Joe Sakic basically was come back, we're winning this thing, essentially. And
hey boss, you got it.
Right? Great, cool.
And then Nazem Kadri, the first ever Muslim to win a Stanley Cup. And I know people, his past, if people can celebrate Tom Wilson winning the cup, you can absolutely celebrate Nazem Kadri winning the cup, and just leave your subtle racism like at the door, because we're like, we don't tolerate that here. But to see him go from the Toronto media and get traded and just blossom into this just absolute offensive force to be reckoned with. It was fun to watch, and he became like a fun player that you wanted to root for.
Yeah, and there was a tweet that was going around. I think he even like reshared it, but it was a picture of him when he was a little kid at like the Hall of Fame, look at the Stanley Cup. And like the thing that I thought was like notable, and this is probably like me reading too much into it, so I get it. But like, most of these guys, I'm sure if you find a picture of like Sidney Crosby, age 8 with the Stanley Cup, like if this is the cup, Sidney Crosby's like hover, like, because there's always the superstition of like, don't touch the cup until you win it, whatever. Nazem Kadri has that his hands on that cup as a little kid, and like for me, like I was just thinking of like, did he at that age ever think that he was going to be in the NHL with a chance to like, it's such a, we talk about like representation matters and like seeing yourself. He didn't have anyone to like look at it and say like, oh, that could be me, like there are other players of color, but like he didn't have that. And so it's like, did he, was he like hands on the cup as an 8-year-old because he's like, I'm never going to win this thing, and then now here we are, like I'm very proud of him. I don't even know him, and I'm proud of him.
And I saw an article, I didn't get a chance to read it, I think I bookmarked it to read later, but talking about how this win for Kadri is a win for a whole community, and why this representation is so important. And you love to see it. And I think any sort of win towards like representation is like really a win for all.
Yeah. And the other important part about Nazem Kadri is he's a cat dad. He has a cat named Jazzy. And if that cat does not go in the Stanley Cup, like I will be sending one mildly curious tweet to be like, dear Kadri family, please
slide into the cat's Instagram DMs.
Like, babies go in the cup, dogs go in the cup,
Poutine goes in the cup.
Yes, put the cat in the cup.
Right.
It's that simple.
I'm good friends with the social media manager of the Avs, so I will literally text her and be like, I'm not on your team, but I need you have an additional assignment that
the internet will love it. The internet will go crazy for it. Like, just do it.
Right?
Cat in the cup.
Oh, we need
Jazzy
it.
Kadri, that's the name of the cat. Jazzy needs to go in the cup.
She does. We should start like a Twitter campaign.
Right? Hashtag cat in the cup.
Perfect.
Well, we're going to keep talking about the Stanley Cup and some of the things we have learned now that all is said and done. We're going to talk about that coming up next. But before we get to that, you've got some BetOnline stuff to tell us about.
I do. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting needs and info. Remember to gamble responsibly while participating in these activities. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including Major League Baseball. Their trade deadline's coming up. We're almost halfway through the season. Where does your team fall? And BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, politics, reality TV, you name it, they have it. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite sporting events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Who doesn't love a good golf match? Head to the website today or use your mobile device, Leapfrog, iPad, whatever you may find, to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So we have the Stanley Cup that's been awarded. We have the constant now celebration that I mean, the Avalanche, like, they haven't even done their like parade or anything yet, right? Like, they're still
They
waiting
flew
for
home
like
to Tampa, I think, yesterday.
yeah. There's
Not
like
flew home from Tampa yesterday.
they had like so much celebrating to do there that like they still have to figure out what they're doing at home. So like we don't really know anything yet in terms of Avalanche players, and I feel like it'll be a little while until we learn more specifically about what was going on with all of them. But you know, it's a topic that I know we've talked about a lot on this show. I think we've both talked about it on our own individual shows, but the whole idea of like the extent that these guys play through things is so bad. And so the Lightning gave their like it's probably even a partial list. There's probably like more that we just haven't even heard about because they're like, oh, whatever. They gave their list of players the injuries that they have all been dealing with throughout the playoffs. And like, I will read out to you what we have. And this comes from like several different, basically anyone who covers the Avalanche has tweeted this out. So props to all of you who have shared this information. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare had a meniscus injury starting the playoffs. Anthony Cirelli had a shoulder AC joint sprain versus the Rangers and then dislocated his other shoulder in the series against Colorado. Nikita Kucherov had an MCL sprain against Colorado. What I don't remember his first name, but his last name is Paul. That's bad. Nick Paul. Thank you. That guy. See, teamwork. He had a shoulder AC joint sprain versus the Rangers and an MCL sprain versus Colorado. Corey Perry had a shoulder joint sprain versus the Rangers. What the heck happened in that series?
Right?
Braden Point, who thank you to Elliot Friedman for giving us the hilarious joy every time of no point in playoffs or in warmups. Braden Point had a significant quad tear in the series against Toronto. He even came back and tried to play a little bit and then was like, oh no, this is horrible. And then Ryan McDonough had, and the direct quote is, a mangled finger from blocking a shot against the Rangers. Julien Brisebois essentially said, to be honest, every player on the roster had multiple contusions along the way. So I can only imagine how many, like, you know, knee, ankle, whatever sprain things. I think it was Nikushkin on Colorado that they were saying like he basically had to have like medical intervention to get his foot in his skate.
Yes.
And just had to leave it on because he couldn't take it back off again.
Kadri couldn't even tie his own skates.
Yeah. Because he broke his thumb in like four places. Also, like how do you break your thumb in 3-4 places? Like that just sounds horrible.
I imagine like that break would go down into your hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Dislike.
Even just bruises from blocking shots. Mm-hmm. Like obviously that's not like that big of a deal on the grand scheme of things, but that's still not easy.
No. Like I'm not like comparing my experience as a bad beer league player to them at all whatsoever. But I blocked one shot off my foot in beer league against bad players. We're all bad. Like we can barely even elevate the puck. I'm not like, there is zero skill comparison except for the fact that you can both say like both I and Nikita Kucherov have played hockey. But like that one low speed, low impact, like shot off my foot. And I was like, I might never walk again. Like, you know, like I can only imagine you're the guy who steps in front of the 90-mile-an-hour slap shot of someone and you take it off your ankle and you just keep going. Like
they would have to stop the game. Like empty out the arena. I'm not like done. This game is not continuing.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And like, so of course, all of these guys, I mean, it's like what the year before when Steven Stamkos like was hurt 8,000 times, came back, scored 1 goal, and then like was like, oh nope, body can't do it anymore. Yeah. And then you find out all the horrible things are wrong with him. Like the amount of painkillers and drugs and like nerve blockers and whatever that these guys are on to get through it is terrible.
I don't understand because I feel like as a doctor, you have some sort of medical responsibility to obviously treat your patients, but to also like not participate in anything that could result in long-term effects the way
Yeah.
that these players are constantly jabbed with Toradol and whatever else they give. But
Mhm.
at the same time, like, these doctors are probably, older,
Mhm.
have seen it all, which means that they lived through the opioid epidemic,
Mhm.
and you're still okay with, and obviously, like, it's not the same, but
Yeah.
you're okay with just pushing that.
Yeah. Like, I would love, I mean, to like to get these doctors like off the record, anonymous, whatever. Like, just what role do they like, where does their ability to like intervene like start and stop? Like Braden
Right.
Point, obviously, quad tear. Like he is supposed to be like I think Breeze Bob basically was like, yeah, he shouldn't be doing anything until like September or something. Um,
That's
but like
huge.
obviously he got back out there. And so was this a like against medical advice thing? Did it like just where does their authority stop? Like
Right. Because
to
like,
let these guys back.
there has to be some sort of like level of like bodily autonomy, but also
Mhm.
like we're paying you like whatever, like 6 million bucks to do this for another 5 years or whatever, your contract is. We can't have you out there risking further damage.
Mhm.
Number one. Number two, your body cannot sustain this level of medication for long term. Number three, you need to put your health first
Yeah.
and look at the bigger picture. And I was thinking earlier about the education surrounding, the medications that they probably take. Like, who is talking to these players?
Mhm.
Like, what do they know about the long-term effects other than, well, my body's probably going to hurt when I wake up when I'm older.
Right.
Like, your
Like,
intestines are going to
yeah.
hate you.
Yeah, like, can we put, like, Ryan Kessler on a tour
Right.
to all these like, and it's, it's the same thing when they talk about concussions and, like, part of the lawsuits that have been happening, like, all essentially hinge on the fact of, like, yeah, we know what a concussion is. We knew the dangers of being the guy who fights. We knew what that
Yeah.
entailed, but, like, no one told us that, like, it could be this bad. No one told us about, all the other terrible things. You're just like, oh, I'm just gonna have a headache for 2 days. Like, nope, actually,
No.
no one, no one told you that could be a thing.
And it just, these are all medications and forms of treatment that have been around for a very long time. This is nothing new or
Mhm.
experimental. So, someone, whether it be an outside source that's hired to, come in for a day at the start of training camp and say, hey, kids, this is what you're being pumped with. And if you keep
Mhm.
doing this on a regular basis, this is what's going to happen. Because I don't think that's happening.
Right.
Because if,
And yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And like, I feel like there it's like, it's the whole concept of like informed consent. Do you know what you're getting yourself into essentially?
right.
And like, no, they don't. Or like they're probably told like, oh, here's the pamphlet to read. Or it's like, oh, hey, PS, here's a side effect of this medication, but like,
It's
you
like
know,
the least.
right. Or it's like this is the side effect when you take it like a normal person. We're not talking about the side effect when you pump yourself full of it like
Right.
every day for a month or something to get through the playoffs.
Right. Or like they're gonna say, okay, this Toradol shot's gonna sting, but that's it. You'll be fine in like 10
Mhm.
minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's negligent.
Yeah, like your body is supposed to feel pain. Pain is the way that your body tells you like, "Hey, something's
Something's
wrong."
wrong. It's just mind blowing. And,
Yeah.
in the words of Hockey Canada, we're behind. Yeah, we're behind on a lot of things in the NHL. And I truly think that, like, there just needs to be this next wave of owners, GMs, front office people who truly want what's best for the players and not just like a hee, let's go sell all your jerseys and make money.
Right. Yeah. I wonder like how much will change as like this kind of current, because I feel like, there has been the shift. There's still like the emphasis on every team needs the grinder, every team needs the guy who's going to fight, but like there's less of the enforcer sort of mentality. And I think a lot of that has gone out of the window as kind of like, the like Steve Yzerman, like that sort of generation of players, the Wayne Gretzky sort of like, I just wonder how much it's going to change once this sort of current group of players becomes the guys who are in leadership positions and like, what they know and understand now about, because also, I mean, in 1980, whatever, we probably didn't have the same exact tight, like, I feel like it was different medications we were shoving guys full of, but
and
it wasn't.
They were doing things in the locker room that were probably also not good for their body. But again, I'm very interested to see if the next commissioner kind of takes like that accountability, maybe doesn't deny
that like concussions happen. Maybe we'll see.
I don't know.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't like it, that's for sure.
Same. Not great.
Well, this is, of course, Locked on NHL. You're listening to Western Conference Wednesday as we wrap up the Stanley Cup coverage, as we, just hang out. Talking, of course, about all the injuries and everything that players have dealt with that we're finding out slowly about through the end of season media stuff. And I want to kind of wrap the show up a little bit by transitioning to talk about the AHL, which is like my baby. But one of the things I feel like there's a good like intersection dovetail kind of thing here, because so for anyone who doesn't know, I also cover the Chicago Wolves in the AHL, who just won the whole thing. So congratulations to them. And shortly before we recorded, Jess and I today, the Wolves kind of had their like end of season rally / come celebrate with us, whatever. And I was talking with the Wolves head coach Ryan Warsofsky afterwards. And he, first off, if you don't follow the AHL, I think that the one thing that people need to know about Ryan Warsofsky is that he has already been fined by the league for, in his post-game press conference after the second game of the Calder Cup finals, basically went on a tirade about the officiating and called it a joke. His team won the game, but he was so mad about the officiating that he just like went on. So he was fined by the league for that. But he is like, part of his kind of tirade about the officiating was like, listen, this is these guys' life. Like, these guys give up so much to, yeah, sure, it's a kid's game. They're all grown men playing a game for kids. We get it. They're getting paid to do it. They give up so much of like their summers. They miss out on so many things with their kids and their families. They like, this is their life. And to get what he sees as subpar officiating, he's like, it's basically, these are my words, not his, but he's like, it's insulting essentially to get to this, like the highest level of your sport, your league, and to have officiating that is not good. And he's a guy who I feel like has really had his players back. I think most coaches, all coaches would say that they would, but all season long, this season, last season was kind of my first season covering him. And he is a guy who is always there for his players. And he was kind of talking about how, like, especially in the world today, like, yeah, some of these guys just need someone to talk to. They just need someone to support them, to know that they're, they have someone in their corner. And like, I feel like this is like, I'd love to get his take on something like this, because he's definitely kind of like the old school sort of mentality a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a younger guy, but hearing him talk so passionately about like defending his players, making sure that they know that like he is there in their corner to support them, to stand up for them, to like, be a sounding board for them. Like, it was so good to hear like a coach just be honest about like, at the end of the day, like, they're just guys and I want what's best for them. and I want them to be taken care of and to feel safe and whatever. And I was like, oh, you're going to get to the NHL someday, and it's going to be, some team is going to like just be real. It's going to be really good to have a coach who like is kind of that like player's coach in the sense of like he just wants them to be happy. I was like, this is very refreshing.
Yeah, no, that's incredible and just something you don't hear. It's refreshing. I have a lot of respect for for coaches like that because they're willing to put their money on the line. And now I don't know what AHL coaches make, but I'm gonna assume it's not the millions of bucks
Yeah,
that
no, doubtful.
NHL coaches are making. So for them to be fined, I'm sure it comes out of the organization's pocket, not the coaches. But
right, or like someone cuts them a bonus at the end of the season,
exactly.
But yeah, and it was one of those things where like afterwards I'm kind of checking to be like, so can I publish that whatever he goes on his like complaint. I was like, I don't want to be the one to like, I'm a journalist, but I'm not writing for The Athletic. Like,
right.
I don't need to do an expose that's going to like mess this guy's day up. But it was like, oh no, like, the head of PR for the league is in the room when he's making this statement. Like he knew exactly what he was saying, who he was saying it in front of.
Like that text to the disciplinary office was sent.
Right. Yeah.
But, I think it's great to have coaches like that and to see, them kind of rise through the ranks in the AHL gives me hope that we get more good coaches like that. And former Flame, Josh Levo.
That's right. Yeah.
Won the
MVP. He just like popped off, let me tell you. And yeah, I feel like, for people kind of looking, if your team is maybe, I don't know, the Arizona Coyotes, and you are looking to reach the cap floor, or if I know Detroit is like way under, if you're one of those teams who's like looking to, you need bodies, you need to pay the money. There's a couple of really good veterans on that Wolves team who, Josh Levo, like, just he's had a couple of NHL stints. He's never really shined, the way he did here. But if I were an NHL team, like I'd give him a look. I'd give Stefan Nason, who scored over 40 goals in the AHL in the regular season, a look. Andrew Podorowski with like over 100 points in the regular season, like, and another like 20 some in the playoffs. Like,
that's insane.
Yeah, like these are guys who have all had like limited, I think Levo's had the most NHL games. I think he's got a couple hundred. Nason has a handful. Podorowski, the captain, has a handful as well. My cat wants to share his opinions on hockey too. But yeah, if you're like looking for a good veteran presence, guy who can come in on your bottom six and like not embarrass you, there's guys there who are going to be looking for new contracts. And what's the worst thing that happens? They don't work out at the NHL, so you send them to your AHL team and then they score 100 points again. Like, oh darn.
Ooh, so scary.
Terrible.
Yeah, like it's one of those low risk, high reward sort of things. And I actually talked about it on my show today, how I was really tired of the Flames just signing a bunch of like old dudes for character and like that veteran presence. But if they can bring something of substance, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But, always rooting for, those kinds of players to get that second chance. And I don't know, I just can't believe that James Neal is in the AHL.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I will say, like, didn't do a whole lot in the playoffs, other than take a penalty and then complain about it for like 5 solid minutes afterwards.
Is that what happens when you're teammates with Connor McDavid?
Maybe.
Sorry, guys, it's late and I am just
spicy.
No filter tonight.
Yeah, no, James Neal, for anyone who missed out, James Neal's playing in the AHL. as the Wolves media at one point called him, like, former NHL star. And I started laughing, and I was like, look at the shade. And the Wolves were like, well, we didn't mean it like that. I'm like, I know you didn't mean it like that. Like, what you said is a true statement.
Right.
He's a former NHL star. Yeah, no, I mean, in fairness to James Neal, there was at least one goal that I remember that he had just like a phenomenal, it looked like the James Neal of old, of just like a fantastic setup for his teammate. Like, you know, the goaltender had absolutely no chance on it because like everyone was following James Neal and he just dishes to some other guy. But yeah, James Neal in the AHL, still being the exact same player that you remember from when he was in the NHL.
Love that. Absolutely love it. The Flames 200% won the trade. Even if Luch went 48 games without a goal, it's okay.
You know what?
Because they're not. Yeah, he's not in the AHL. So
that is a very true statement. He at least is still doing Milan Lucic things in the NHL.
$6.5 million.
How many years does he have left?
1.
Oh, okay.
This is the last. So
the home stretch.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah. Hey, maybe someone will take him at the deadline.
I present to you a very high mileage, used and abused Milan Lucic.
It runs.
It does, and it stops.
Yeah.
Might fall a little bit.
That's all right.
But I'll give it to you, and I'll retain some salary.
Yeah. Do you need someone to like? I mean, unless you don't want like, are you the team that needs to meet the cap floor?
True. Can I present to you the entire contract and maybe even Sean Monahan? Either one. Either one.
Why not? Have fun.
Right.
Well, this has been delightful. I can't wait to see, like, now I just want to like try every week to like trade Milan Lucic to someone.
Yes.
Like you just sneak him in. It's like whenever you're like at the store when you're a little kid and you just throw something into the cart and hope your mom doesn't notice. You just threw in like candy bars. I feel like that's what you're gonna have to do, is be like, here's this really shiny like thing. Also take Milan Lucic.
Yeah. And bye everyone.
Toodles.
No one else.
No take backs.
Yep. Hands are cleaned. It's a done deal.
Well, this has been a delight. I love just getting to yell at people about the AHL. If you are looking for more fun hockey content, if you live in a city that has an AHL team, I always recommend going because it's just super dirt cheap. Most places you can get like $20-$25 seats at, like, and they're great seats.
Yeah.
And you get to see like future stars of the NHL. Like, watching the Wolves, there's definitely guys on that team who they're going to be on opening night rosters for the Hurricanes next season. Absolutely. And you if you're on the AHL team, you get to say like, hey, I like that guy before it was cool.
Exactly.
So if you want to be a hipster about players, absolutely get in on the minor league action. But we have a Stanley Cup champion. It has come home to where it belongs in the Western Conference. So thank you, Colorado Avalanche, because you did this for us. That is about it for this week. But of course, before I go, one announcement from yours truly. If you watch Locked on Kings or listen to it or whatever, you already know. But it is time for me to ride off into the hockey sunset. It is the end of the season. It's a good time to make some transitions and some life changes and whatever. So I will be stepping away from my podcast duties here at Locked on NHL. I'll still be like yelling about hockey on Twitter. And like I said, AHL, I love it. I'll still be covering that. But will not be doing the podcast grind, at least for now. And so I believe, if we have our math calendars right, I believe this may be my last show. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll pretend it is. And then if I show back up in the future, it'll be a fun surprise. But you, of course, will be in great hands with Jess. And I won't spoil who's going to be coming in to hang out with Jess in the future. But I think it's going to be a delightful show, and I'm really looking forward to listening to it once I don't have to listen to myself on a podcast anymore. So it has been a delight talking about the Western Conference with you guys for for so long. It's been a delight getting to talk with you, Jess, every week here on the show. And I will still be around yelling about sports because I have no life.
What else are we going to do with our lives, right?
No, sleep more, I guess.
True. Thank you, Sarah, so much for bringing me on as a co-host. And now I am now the host, and we'll have a little co-host, which is crazy. But you know, it's time. We all make the jump eventually. Thank you. It's been a pleasure chatting with you week after week and yelling about Vegas.
Yeah, I do hope that it is a job requirement for whoever comes after me.
Oh, yes.
You know, question number 1 on the job interview: what are your feelings about Las Vegas?
Exactly. No, it will be one of my requirements. Now, I don't know how that's going to go with the higher ups, but maybe this is a side question. I sneak in and say, hey, like, I know this wasn't on like the official application, but like, how do you feel
for the audition?
Like, just, it's okay.
Love it.
But to wrap it up, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Las Vegas just hired John Stevens as an assistant coach, and I am furious because I like John Stevens because he came from the Kings, and now I'm just really mad that there's like one thing about Vegas that I have to like, and I'm like,
that's
jerks.
how I feel about them hiring Bruce Cassidy. I'm not okay with it.
How dare they?
Right? Yeah. Even the cat agrees.
Yeah, even the cat agrees. He's down on the floor yelling about Las Vegas. I've trained him very well.
Yes, he's picked up our habits.
He has. Well, this has been a delight. I can't wait to see what is in store in the future for Locked on NHL Western Conference Wednesday. You, the listeners, audience, whatever, have been delightful as well. Always love hearing from you and seeing your pet pictures. Please continue sending pet pictures. I think they are great. That is it for today's show. You can always find me on Twitter at Right Said Sarah, WRITE Said Sarah with an H. Jess, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto, and of course, Locked on Flames, wherever you get your podcasts.
Excellent. That is it for me today and potentially forever. This has been Locked on NHL, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.